the
but I
number
don't
9?
know.
It wasn't. Okay.
They chose.
Y'all want to start a few minutes early?
Sure.
Our second speaker will be here in a few minutes. I just want to do a couple of housekeeping
Okay.
before I introduce Cindy.
Everybody get their papers. These are mine?
Yes, yes. I've already asked, everybody got something out of last week's session?
Yeah.
Good. I hope that some of those things you can implement and keep from doing the bad stuff that they wanted you to think about. Insurance, did you get your credit, Jody?
I ain't talking.
Okay. But tonight we're talking about, excuse me, credit and managing a business. And everybody should have a copy of the presentations. I'm delighted to introduce Cindy Snyder. Cindy is our small business lender at Virginia Community Capital. This week we've done an enormous amount of windshield time. We've actually been locked up in the car for the last 3 days. Been to Richmond and back, and over here tonight. But Cindy has a lot of experience, and I'll let you tell about your background, been in People Inc. and so forth. But ask a lot of tough questions tonight, would you? And next week, just a reminder, is going to talk about finance, about what lenders look at and how they evaluate applications and so forth like that. And we'll have 3 lenders here from both commercial, nonprofit, well, 2 nonprofits that you can ask questions about. When you're ready to expand your business and you're seeking additional financing, hopefully you will learn a few tips. And our second speaker, I'm going to go ahead and introduce him when we get started. But Vivek Patel with Ascent Virginia, he came all the way from Northern Virginia to present this session tonight. So he's very committed to Southwest Virginia, and it's not just in saying it, he means it, and he's been here quite often here, probably once a month or every 6 weeks you're here. But when we get started, I'll let Vivek introduce yourself. But I think to help Cindy and Vivek before we get started, how about we go around the room and let each of you introduce yourself and tell them what you're going to be doing, so that'll kind of help customize tonight's session. So, Mario, Emmanuel, you want to start out?
Yeah, I want to start a step van food truck, and that's my plan, is to start a food truck. I actually picked out the uniform already. I have a uniform, and the name is called Taco. It's the taco and a letter D and an I, but in Spanish it's called Taco de Ojo. The letter D is called De. So it's Taco de Ojo means eye candy. So I got eye candy in the back. So uniforms I would like to. But I would like to start a food truck. My options are buying a step van at $8,000 or $9,000, and then customize it myself, and try to get a credit or a loan on getting some of the equipment in there. I know the equipment is very expensive. I did pass the Safe Serve or the Serve Safe exam, and I'm ready for learning more, and hopefully this will be my last year trying to start it, because I told my wife that if this doesn't work out, I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to, because it's stressful, plus, it takes a lot of your time.
Yeah.
So,
Jody?
I'm Joe Bostic. I've got business up a couple miles up the road. Mountain Top Designs. I do make shirts, t-shirts, do embroidery work. We've got a gift shop section in there as well.
So can tourists come in there and purchase items? Do you have personalized items for the area in there, or is it mainly for businesses you create?
No, I do I do like a lot of things for the local businesses, plus we do, custom, shirts, whatever they want
I got you.
to say on it. And then, I'm looking at trying to do with more interest, spark with Elk, and then here this weekend, they've got the.
Yeah, I was
The-
that's why I was
the trail,
wondering about
things with the
tourists
trails, right?
that are coming to the ATV ride.
Yeah, I've been dealing with that all day today. I'm actually setting up, I've got a trailer that I
Oh, okay.
on site, and I'll be making their,
Oh,
their
good
event
idea.
shirts for
Good
the,
idea.
all weekend for that. So I do things like that too, set up at ball tournaments.
Okay, so you can make shirts right there on the spot?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can take my equipment and put it in my trailer, and then I can make the shirts out of the trailer. kinda
Okay, cool.
like that.
Jody is our existing business competitor.
Gotcha. Okay.
Direct to garden? Direct to garden.
You want to go in trouble this week?
I do, most of that's just all.
David, take it away.
I'm David Ratliff. I'll be starting a mobile food business, not like the food truck, but just like a hot dog cart.
Okay. Any relation?
Maybe. Lay down. He won't blame me, but.
Chrissy.
I'm Chrissy Charles. I own Fired Up Pottery. I'm actually located in town, in the Grundy Plaza. Been in business now for 6 months, and I make ceramic pieces, and I have it set up to where people can come in and paint ceramic items.
Okay.
And what makes my shop a little different from other pottery shops is we paint with a non-fire acrylic paint, so I don't have to refire the pieces. I just spray it with an overspray, and they get to take the piece home the same day that they paint it.
Oh, nice.
So
That's cool.
yeah.
I went to a paint party not too long ago
Yeah.
on canvas. I'm not artistic at all, but it was fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna start doing the paint parties like that also. I also do face painting there. I do airbrush tattoos, and I make candles, personalized candles with pictures on them. I do that also.
Huh,
So,
cool. Sean.
My name's Sean Cosner, and I'm a current 2L law student here, and I'm also interested in starting a cafe across the street from the law school to cater to the students in the town of Grundy.
Cool, awesome. Glad to be here. I'm Cindy Snyder. I'm with Virginia Community Capital, and I've been with Virginia Community Capital, it'll be 2 years in July. Prior to that, I was with People Incorporated, which you all may be familiar with People Incorporated. I worked with them for 8 years. The last 2 years, I was the director of the Economic Development Department there. They do small business loans, 50,000 and less. Virginia Community Capital, which Sandy's probably already talked about, we do, our niche is more like 150 and up. We can go up to 5.4 million is what our limit is now. Prior to that, I was in the car business. I worked at a car dealership for 20 years. 15 of those years was in finance, trying to get people approved for loans, for car loans. So I saw a lot of different scenarios when it came to credit. And so I'm very passionate about credit. For some reason, that's just something that I'm passionate about. So that's the topic that we're going to talk about tonight. When I was at People Incorporated, I was a certified credit counselor. The certification's probably expired by now, but the knowledge hasn't, and I don't think much has changed in credit, the fundamentals of why it's important. And so we're going to talk about several different things. These are what we're going to cover. And we're going to talk about why do we even have credit reports, how does stuff get on your credit report. We're actually going to look at a credit report. And I'm going to talk to you about where you can get access to your credit, if there's things incorrect on your credit, how you can get those disputed and taken care of. So it's quite a few items, but I'd like for you to ask questions as I'm going along, because if you're like me, I'll forget if I don't ask a question when I have it. So we'll just go ahead and jump into it. How many of you all have checked your credit in, say, the last year? Good job. Okay, so what is a credit report? It's just basically how you've applied for credit and how you've paid. It's just kind of a running record of your history of how you've paid borrowed debt. So why do we even have credit reports? Why do we need them? When you think back before World War II, when people were staying put wherever they were born, if they didn't have money to buy groceries, they would go to the local grocery store, and Joe, the owner, just had a ledger, and he'd keep track. If you needed to buy groceries on credit and you didn't get paid till Friday, he would just put down that Jody Bostick bought $50 worth of groceries, and then you would come in and pay him on Friday. Well, that worked out great until we all start moving around. So now, if, say, Chrissy may have good credit with the local store here, but if you move to California, your credit didn't go with you. So that's why they created the computerized way of keeping track to where you can share that credit history so that your credibility goes with you. That can be good and bad. Good is if you have good credit, it goes with you. Bad is if it isn't, it's going to follow you as well. But that's kind of the history of why we have credit reporting. So what does it do for us? It definitely gives us access to buy things at times that we may not necessarily need. We've all been to the department store, and they're like, save 10% today, fill out a credit application, and get pre-approved for a credit card. So it definitely gives you the ability to buy more, which again can be a good or a bad thing. And getting credit is almost instant. You can apply for something online and instantly get approved. So there are definitely some benefits to that. And it gives you greater access to things maybe that you wouldn't be able to normally be able to enjoy. So, who uses your credit report? These are just a few of the items, which are kind of obvious, but can you think of any areas in your life that credit could affect your life outside of these?
Housing.
Housing. And if you drill down even more into housing, it can affect the neighborhood that you can live in, which in turn can affect the schools that your kids go to. I mean, it really has a broad effect on your life. Housing's one. How about car insurance? They check your credit now, so it can affect what your monthly premium is. You go to, you move into a new place and you need to get electricity turned on. They're going to pull your credit. It could be the difference in you putting a $500 deposit down or not having to pay a deposit. So I think of credit as valuable as cash in your wallet. You need to protect it, and it has a true financial value to you. Can affect jobs. Well, it says employment up there. That's another one that I think is very important. It can affect whether you get approved for certain licenses. We talked about the housing. Cell phones is another item. Pretty much
Security clearance.
security clearance, especially for some particular jobs, or if you are wanting to get certain licensing, it can affect that as well. So where do the credit reporting agencies get their information? One, they're going to get it from you. So when you're applying for that Old Navy card, let's say, you put down where you work, where you live, that information is going to go to the credit reporting agencies. They're also going to get it from people that you borrow money from, which is your creditors. If you have a charge-off, if you have a collection, a medical collection, you bounce a check, anything like that, that's going to show up on your credit report. All right, so let's do that. A question here. I'm married, but I have different credit information than my husband. Is that true or false?
True.
I'm married, but I have different credit information than my husband. Everybody agree?
It's unique to your Social Security.
It is. It's unique to you. They may look very similar if you've had joint credit together, you bought a home together, you bought a car together, etc. But your credit is your credit. Doesn't matter if you are married or not. I've often used the saying, it's easier to get a divorce than it is to get out of a credit obligation with someone. All right, so let's have you guys put on your banker hats and let's look at this sample credit report that I've given you. We're going to go down this and I'm going to cover the different areas and then I'm going to ask you a few questions. So in the section A there, what you see are names, current addresses, previous addresses. So any name that you've ever applied for credit in is going to show up there. Like my name is Cynthia Green Snyder now, but I used to be Cynthia Dawn Green, and I've applied for credit and there's Cindy, and so any of those variations could show up there. Addresses, any addresses that I've reported on an application are going to show up there. Keep in mind when you're looking at your credit report, if you see an address on there that you've never lived at, that's a red flag that somebody could have accessed your Social Security number. So be sure to check that when you're checking your credit report. The last place that you reported that you worked is going to show up there, and of course your social and your date of birth. There's some other items that you have the opportunity to put on your credit report, and one is if you've been a victim of identity theft, you can put that on your credit report, and you can even freeze your credit report so that no one can apply for credit. Let's say your wallet gets stolen, your purse gets stolen, you can do that. And that's actually what this person has done is they've said don't extend credit to anyone without checking with me first. And that will stay on your credit report for 90 days. You also have the opportunity to put a consumer statement on your credit report. And in this instance, this person has said that they were injured on the job and they couldn't make their car payments in 2007. This one stays on here until you remove it. So if your situation changes, you want to change it.
How
Question.
impactful is the consumer statement when you pull in?
If I saw something on here that gave me concern, I would ask you.
For example, if this statement correlates with some missed payments in 2007,
it would help. As a lender, what I'm going to be looking for are trends. Did someone have good credit and then, oops, something happened, and you can tell. A credit report will tell a story when you look at it. If I see someone that's never paid anybody and they want to tell me that they're late on their car payment because of this injury, I'm not going to buy it. I don't care if it says it on there or not. We use common sense. One thing I want to say is let's pretend like right now that we are in, year-wise for this to work, we're going to say we are in April of 2008 right now, okay? Because this has got dates on it that we're going to use when I ask you some questions. So we're in April of 2008 looking at this credit report. So his injury from his car accident was last year, in other words. So we've got 3 lines of credit on here, and we're looking at the first one. It tells us it's an electronic store, an account number, and then it tells you whose account this is. So if we're looking at a J here, does anyone want to guess what a J would be?
Joint?
Yep, that's it. And then he opened this account in October of 2003. It's been open, or it's been reviewed for 36 months. Date of last activity. Has a balance of $150, $0 past due, and says it's an R1. There's basically 2 types of credit, or lines of credit, rather. So does anyone want to guess what an R is?
Retail?
Nope. Revolving. That's your credit cards, okay? So they're going to report as an R on there. Bank name. So let's pretend like this. We'll say this is Wells Fargo, and it's an account, and this person is an A on this account. This one's kind of a hard one. Can anybody guess what that is? He's an authorized user, okay? So what that means is that he's not responsible for this, to pay this back, but he has access to this credit. When would you ever want to give someone access to your credit? Say, give them your credit card and make them an authorized user, but not have them be responsible for paying that loan back.
You're trying to help them build credit.
That
Or
could
it's
be.
a child.
Child. I always like to give this example. My daughter hates when I do because she's 34 now and I still use it. When she went off to college, I thought, you know, she needs to have a credit card just for emergencies. I don't want her to be stranded somewhere and be out of gas, and you know, because they don't manage their money real well when they go off to college. Well, within the first semester, I figured out real quick her idea of an emergency and mine were totally different. So I had to take that card away. So just be careful. Now, there may be a time you have an employee that's working for you and you need them to be able to go to Lowe's to pick up, you know, to purchase things on your Lowe's card. But just keep in mind, you're giving them basically a blank check and they can do with it what they want. So you just want to be careful. But like Sean said, you know, it is a good way for you to help a child establish credit, something like that. But remember, nobody's going to go after them for the money. They're going to come after you. So that account has no balance. Auto finance. So think of this, say, Honda Finance Company. This account is an I. Can you guess what that is?
Individual.
Yep. So the J was joint, the A was the authorized user, and I is individual. So this appears to be that car loan that he was referencing, because the high credit was $7,500, the balance is $2,000, but he's behind $400, which would be 2 payments on that, right? Then we come down to public record. We've had a lien filed by a city for $42,789, but it says it's been released. So what that would mean is that it was paid or settled or something happened there where he's been released from that lien. He has filed a bankruptcy and it was discharged. It does not tell us if it's a 7 or a 13 on this example, but your credit report would tell you that. Difference between a 7 and a 13 is 7, you get to walk away from the debt. 13, they're going to make you make payments. In about 08, they changed roughly around there, they changed the bankruptcy laws because people were abusing that. They were going out running up their credit cards and then filing Chapter 7 and then walking away. And then they had no debt and they could start all over again. So now it's tougher to get your debts discharged. More than likely, the judge is going to look at the money that you have coming in and look at what you owe, and he's going to put you on a payment plan. And it's going to be a 3 to 5 year payment plan. And you're going to pay one payment to the court, and they're going to pay your bills for you. And it's going to restrict you from being able to get any more credit. They really put the brakes on you if you have to file a Chapter 13. But that does show up on your credit report. So then we're in collections. Think of medical bills. It is so hard to keep up with medical bills. And it's not unusual for us to see medical bills on credit reports. Because if you have a procedure, you're going to get a bill from the place you had the procedure. You're going to get a bill from the nurse and the lab and the anesthesiologist. I mean, the list goes on. You'll get bills from people you didn't even know were ever even involved in it. And it can be easy to lose track of those. And my advice on those is set up a payment plan. My experience, medical facilities are very cooperative in working with you. My youngest daughter, I didn't have her paid for till she was 2, and I used to joke they could come and repo her at any time. But I got her paid off. So they are willing to work with you. So as opposed to having them show up on your credit report, I would recommend that. And then the last thing is anybody that pulls your credit is going to show up on your credit report. So that's something else for you to look at. When you look at your credit report and you see a bank pulled your credit and you didn't give them permission to, that's a red flag that somebody might have gotten a hold of your identity.
What's the difference between soft and hard inquiry and the impact?
Hard is you gave somebody permission to pull your credit and they pulled it. From working in the car business, one piece of advice I would give you, if you go to a car dealership and you're looking for a car, tell them, do not send my credit anywhere until I decide I want to buy this vehicle, because they're notorious for taking your credit information and shooting it to 15 different banks, because they don't care about your credit. They just care about selling you a car, and they want to make sure they can get you approved. So I do that even if I go looking at furniture or anywhere that I'm shopping for something. If they want my personal information to pull my credit? No. You don't get that until I'm ready to pay for it, and then I'll give you that. I mean, that would be like handing over your wallet to somebody and saying, here, hold that for me. I'll test drive this and see if I like it. You need to protect it, and because those hard hits will hurt your credit score. And I'm going to break down how that algorithm is figured because it's kind of wonky. But that would be advice that I would give you on not letting them pull it. Now, soft inquiries are kind of where they come in the back door, and that's how you get those credit card offers in the mail, and you're like, how do they even know that well, they send them to you really whether you can afford it or not, because they'll send it to college students that don't have jobs. But they are just getting like a snapshot of the basic information on your credit without getting your personal information, if that makes sense. Those don't affect your score. Credit Karma, which is a service that I use, I recommend it. You can look at your credit on there every day if you want, and it's not going to affect your credit. So there is a distinct difference between the two.
Now, when you do, let's say, car business, you're buying a car, and those same car inquiries are within 30 days of each other, it's going to count as one.
Yeah, that's, I still don't want somebody having access to my credit. Again, I protect it. But yes, technically, they will look at it as one. But if you think you go to 3 different dealerships and they each sent it to 15 different, this section down here is not going to look good. You just don't want, there's no reason to allow them to do that. And so you just need to say that up front, that, we'll look at my credit when I decide I want to buy the vehicle, or when I decide I want to buy that furniture, or whatever, Good questions. Anybody else have questions on this? All right, so my question to you is, this guy wants to borrow $500 from you. All right, so would you lend it to him, Manuel?
This guy right here wants to borrow 500.
Uh-huh.
Well, he got injured on a job. He's not working. So, he's not making his car payments. So,
Right.
I might not be able to. I mean, I could borrow him $5, but
Not 500. All right, Jody, how about you?
I don't know. He has for the first. Let's see. Did he? Where it says high credit right here, 1,200, like the electronics store.
Mm-hmm.
What? Is 150 all that?
Is left on it, yeah. Well, yes. But that's a credit card, so they may have just given him that limit. That doesn't mean he used that limit, because it's a revolving, so it's a credit card.
He's not got anything past due on that one, and then the bank's got, well, you said that was just an authorized user.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. He does have a past due, but he don't at the electronics store. I don't know. It's almost a 50-50 shot on it, I would think, of whether or not you give the guy a chance with it.
Right.
Or it says date of last activity, like there is 9/06. So has he went 2 years without paying anything? But it says he's not past due. So what's the deal with that date?
That could be, they could be referencing date of last purchase, but this is not exactly what a credit report would look like. This is just a template to use to discuss things. Typically, date of last activity means date of last activity, last payment received, or last purchase. But yeah, what you're saying, that is a little skewed there, because it's making you think that he hasn't paid.
Like this hospital here, this amount is $789, and it says unpaid balance is $789. About, let's see, years ago now, I worked for Alpha
Mm-hmm.
Natural Resources. They had a wellness program where if you went to the doctor and got the physical, we got a check for doing it.
Yeah, my daughter has that at her work.
Yeah, well, they paid us to go do it.
Uh-huh.
And all you go do is, they, blood pressure,
Right.
weigh you. There was no, they took her blood, and they're like, we may catch something early if you do this,
It
and then later
encourages,
on, we're
yeah.
not gonna have these big high
Yeah.
doctor bills because you didn't get your regular physical. So to get you to do it, they gave us a check to do it.
Right.
Okay, so, and they did it every year. And it's probably the third time that I had went and done this. My dad, we worked the same job. We went together to the doctor, the day we went. Same test, physical, told them, at the doctor's office, we worked for Alpha. It's a wellness checkup,
Mm-hmm.
Ever how you have to report it, there, nothing we had to pay that day. They took care of it, nothing out of pocket, just go do it.
Right.
Okay. I get a bill from LabCorp, $200 and some, tell me I owed for lab work from that
Mm-hmm.
day. They still ain't seen $1 out of me, and they ain't going to.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I got other bills that I know that I made that I'm paying.
Right.
So, and I don't know what's ever gonna happen with it. They've sent collection letters to me, but I am not giving them the first penny, cause Daddy never got charged a penny.
Yeah.
And the 2 years before, I never got charged.
Sounds like they didn't do the
So,
coding or the billing
I
right.
called that doctor's office and told them to rebill it,
Right.
and they say they are, and they say there's nothing they can do about it. And then, the LabCorp side was saying that it's supposed to be reported, filed a different way, that they didn't turn it in right. The reason I'm getting charged for it, and they were saying that they did tests that they were not supposed to do with the blood work, and,
Okay.
was what they're saying.
Unauthorized testing or
I mean,
something.
I don't know I know I done it 2 years before, never got charged a penny, got a check for doing it. My father did the same thing.
Right.
And then here
How
I
long
get a
ago
bill.
was that?
It's been probably close to 5 years ago
Okay.
that happened. And, as long as I got other bills that I know that,
Yeah, I understand.
that I made,
Yeah.
and I told them that. They called me about it, and I told them, I said, I ain't sending you anything. Do whatever you got to do, and I don't care. I mean, I'm that way. If I know for a fact I didn't do it,
Yeah.
I ain't backing up and paying for something I didn't do. I mean, that's no different than me sending you a bill for some T-shirts. Way I
That I
look at it.
didn't. Yeah, that I didn't order.
Yeah.
And then
So-
expected.
And I told them that.
Right.
I told them that up there at the doctor's office. I said, how about I send you all a bill for $229 for border polos, and you all can send me a check, and I'll send that to LabCorp. And they
Yeah.
just kind of looked at me and like, well.
Right, it's the same. The
So,
good
I mean, what
news
do you
is,
do?
the good news is that will fall off your credit report, and I think it's 7 years total. It reports on there. It'll fall off automatically. It'll just drop off.
So, I mean, that's like,
Um,
this guy right here, sometimes things may look bad, but you just don't know.
The whole story.
The whole story is, and this guy, even though this stuff's on here, he's probably gonna get slapped with a high interest rate, kick him
Mhm.
while he's down,
Mhm.
So-
One thing that you could do with that, when I get into talking about where you can look at your credit, there is a way to dispute items online with annualcreditreport.com. And if you dispute it, the credit reporting agency will reach out to LabCorp and they'll say, you need to prove that he owes this. And if they don't prove that you owe it, they have to take it off. That could be something you could try. Would be the only other thing that I could think of, outside of just letting it fall off. Let's see, does anybody back here want to guess now? David?
I would say no, just for the fact that he was injured on his job, couldn't make his car payments. That was in 2007. And this is just 4 of 08.
Okay,
That would be my thought.
Chrissy?
Yeah, I would say no also. Which he is behind on the auto payment. But I think that's the only one that he's behind on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sean, yours
Um,
last hope.
Depends on the lender I'm working for, of course. There's a lot of things in here. I need more information. His income source. If he was injured on a job, he would have workers' comp payments, so he missed. I don't understand that story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's got I'm assuming he's got a house because there was a lien for $42,000 on his property. I'm assuming that's what that is. So he has something he could put down as, I forget the word, collateral. So I think with that, maybe, but then you look at he's $400 back on his car payment, and then he's also has medical bills in 2005 that's unpaid for almost $800. So he owes that money. So he owes $800 there. That's not even including his monthly payments. That's an addition. Plus he filed bankruptcy in 505. So it depends on other factors. I think I might consider it, but it's not looking good for him.
Okay. So he's not going to have much luck in here, is he? Normally I say one of the things of this is that we know who we can borrow money from now, but you guys aren't going to none of you guys are going to let go of any of your money, so that's okay. Sean alluded to the other part of this that I like to talk about is you really don't have enough information here to make a decision. You don't have the full picture, do you? Because we don't know. Like Sean said, what collateral does he have? If I told you he had a car that was worth $5,000, not this car that he owes on, but let's say he has another vehicle that's valued at $5,000 and he's willing to put that up as collateral. Totally changes the picture, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What if I told you he'd been on his job 25 years? To me, that makes a difference because that shows some stability. So also in your mind, when you're applying for credit, you've got to think about these things. So if first you want to look at your credit, find out what's on there. If there's things that are incorrect, you want to get those taken care of. And then if you know there's some issues on there, you need to be prepared to answer those questions. Maybe you worked for a company that is no longer in business and you were laid off. That's happened to all of us. Lenders are just like you. They're going to use common sense. They're going to have questions. So you just want to be prepared when you go in. You don't want them to say, well, what's this collection on here for $789? And you go, I have no idea. You just want to be prepared. Okay. All right. Oh, that's all on more than one slide. Let's see. Okay. So, do you guys get those offers in the mail where you're pre-approved? You can get those to stop if you want. You can call that number or you can go to optoutprescreen.com and tell them you don't want to get those anymore. It will not stop ones that you've already been doing business with from coming, but it will stop from those random companies. And then later, if you decide, okay, I want to start getting them, you can reverse it and opt back in. But I've done that because I've got enough credit cards. I don't need any more. And if you have good credit, you'll have a tendency to get more than, mailboxes full of those. And also, it always worries me that what if somebody were to get one of those out of my mailbox and fill it out and put a different address on there and get a credit card in my name? It could happen. People are very creative in what they'll do. All right, another question. My credit report contains information about my recent divorce. True or false?
I'd say it probably would have a name change that could assume it's maybe a divorce.
You could assume. But is it going to say I'm divorced? And you tell me that you don't have a house payment, but I pull your credit and it shows you have a joint house payment. I'm going to think, okay, something's going on there. Again, a credit report can tell a story. So it's going to maybe prompt questions. Yes.
Let's say a scenario here. Let's say a scenario. I'm using a credit repair service as we speak right now, I went through a bad divorce in 2012. I went through a bad divorce. We both had credit cards, joint credit cards. We both had joint auto loans, and a lot of my credit cards, I kind of left the house because of some stuff that she was doing, and I just couldn't bear with it anymore. And when I left, I went to live in my van, so I basically became homeless. And the credit cards that I left behind, she maxed them out. So right now, what I'm doing right now is I'm working with a credit agency as we speak, and they're trying to fix that because they want to know when I walked out and when this stuff happened. I said just pull the file. You'll see all that stuff like pantyhose, panties. I don't buy that. I don't have that. Then again, dresses, shoes, makeup. I don't use that. That's her. So we're trying to investigate that right now.
I'm very leery of companies that tell you they can fix your credit. There is not a magic wand that can fix your credit, and they tend to be very expensive. It would probably serve you better to talk to an attorney about it. I don't know how locked in you are with them at this point, but there are also other nonprofit organizations that can help you. And actually, the company that I use this template from and this presentation from is Money Management International.
Right.
They provide counseling and assistance in that regard.
I had a checkbook with my name on it, and she forged my name with checks.
Yeah,
So a lot of those checks, my bank account was drained.
yeah, they bounce.
No, she drained my bank account. I had like $10,000 in my bank account.
Uh-huh.
She drained it, and she forged those checks. So when I got copies of the checks from Bank One in Chicago, it's called Bank One, and I got copies of them. And I said, "This is my signature. It's not my signature. I didn't do it." So we're trying to dispute that right now. And I told them this is fraud.
Right,
It's fraud. So fraud is a crime. You go to jail for that.
which would be all the more reason to get with an attorney.
Well, yeah, I know. I spoke to a legal an attorney. I'm trying to get her thrown in jail.
Yeah, that's a crime to do that. But that company that says they're fixing your credit, they're not going to be able to assist you with that
No.
portion either.
They're not doing that right now. They're not doing that. I
Yeah.
spoke to an attorney already.
Yeah. You might want to talk to one about what you're trying to get that company to do, because there's really not, they can't do any more than you could do on your own, in other words.
Yeah, I think they already took out 3 of them that I wasn't at fault. They were not my fault because I didn't have a job in 2 years span. I was homeless.
Yeah.
I didn't have a job. I didn't have a home.
Yeah.
So the credit that was accumulated during that time.
Yeah,
So,
what they're doing is they're disputing things on there which you're able to do on your own and not have to pay somebody. That's just my advice. But of
they're
course
more
you
professional
do.
about it. Me, I'm from the hood. I'm from the ghetto.
I'll get into how you do what I'm talking about here in just a second and where you go to do it. What information is not in a credit report? Race, religion, medical history, political affiliation. Checking or savings accounts. Sometimes people think that having a checking or savings helps establish credit. It doesn't. Okay, it's not reporting. But if you bounce a check, they will report it. And any other information that's not related to your credit. I went too far. Okay, this is where you can get your free credit report, and this is where I was telling you about when you can dispute items. So you're entitled to pull each of the credit reports. There's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You're entitled to get one of those free per year. And you can get that at annualcreditreport.com. Now, the thing I like about this site is if I pull my credit and I see something like what Manuel was saying, that's not mine. I didn't buy that. I can click right there on that and say dispute, and it's going to give me multiple choices, and I can say, I never lived in that area. That was not my purchase. So then when I do that, that burden now becomes the creditor's burden, because that means TransUnion or Equifax or Experian will contact them, and they have to respond to that. Okay, they legally have to respond and they have to prove you owe it. If they don't, they have to take it off your credit report. That saves you from having to send certified letters. You know, the old way of doing it, you would send a certified letter and you'd make copies to prove that you did it, blah, blah. The clock will start ticking right away when you do that. Okay, and then they'll stay in touch with you and let you know what they find out. You can purchase, if you need to purchase one, you can purchase it, but I'm all about free. So I do annualcreditreport.com, and it's going to ask you questions that only you know. Some totally random questions. What was the street number of the house you lived at in 10 years ago? But it's questions to protect your identity, so that's why they're kind of random questions. So how about this? I don't need to check my credit report because I pay my bills on time. False. Do you balance your checkbook? Do you check to make sure that what the bank says you have in your account is what you show you have in your account? People make mistakes. Things can get reported incorrectly. So again, this is one of the important financial tools for your life, and we talked about early on how it affects so many different areas of your life. You want to protect it. And so importance of reviewing it are obvious. Discover identity fraud. Make sure you're keeping it, your report accurate. All right, is it up to the credit reporting agency to verify information before they put it on your credit report? They're going to do due diligence. I mean, they're going to do their best, but they're human, you know, it's human error happens. So I don't leave anything financial up to other people. I always check and make sure. It's too important. I work too hard for my money, and I know you all do. Dispute process of errors are found on credit reports. We talked about that. I recommend doing it on annualcreditreport.com. So let's talk about what a credit score is. It's a 3-digit number, and what it does is it assesses the likelihood that you will pay your bills on time. I equate it to like your GPA when you were in school. Kind of as a history, it shows how, in this case, it shows how well you paid your bills. All right, so how do you find out what your score is? You can purchase it when you do your free credit report on annualcreditreport.com. It'll allow you to pay to get the score. Okay, I don't do that because I like free. I use Credit Karma, and that's credit with a C, karma with a K. You can set up an account on there. It will ask you random questions to make sure it's you, and then from then on, you'll have access to your credit report. You'll see your score. You'll be notified by email if an account gets opened in your name. You'll get notified if an account exceeds its limit. So it's almost like having protection on your credit report. Free. Check it out. Highly recommend it, especially if you're wanting to improve your credit. It's going to allow you to watch how you're improving it. All right, so how is a score generated? I always thought of this like, especially when I was in the car business, I was like, I cannot figure out the rhyme or reason to this. It was almost like it was from the Wizard of Oz, somebody behind this curtain going blah, 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 and until I had this training and I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. So the biggest one, obviously, is going to be payment history. And that's 35%. The good news is that payment history is based on how you've paid your bills in the last 2 years. So 35% of your score is affected by what you've done in the last 2 years. So if you've got credit issues, that's a good thing to know that score's not going to be drugged down by something I didn't pay 5 years ago. It's going to be how I've paid in the last 2 years. So if I can start paying my bills on time now, if I can get any credit that I have that's over the limit, that's a major thing that it hurts your score. Get your credit cards below the limit, and then obviously you want to pay them down as quickly as you can. Because the next thing on there is how much do you owe creditors. So if I have a credit card for $1,000 and I have that thing at $999, the score's not going to like that. If I have a $1,000 limit and I only owe $200, it'll be okay with that. Okay, so it's going to look at how much I owe creditors, because it has no idea how much income I have. I may have $1 million a month coming in. So it can't really say she can't afford those payments, but it can look at the credit that I have available, how much of that credit am I using? Because if I start getting high balances on credit cards, that's an indication that something's going wrong here because I'm borrowing money at a high interest rate. So it takes that into account. Length of credit history. You've heard don't cancel credit cards. Don't close your cards. I don't know if y'all have heard that, but that's the reason that you hear that is 15% of your score is affected by the length of your credit history. So don't do the math, but in my first credit card was in 1984, and it was a Sears card. It's since been closed out for obvious reasons, but I kept that card because that kept my history going back to, at the time, of course it's not relevant now, it's so long ago, but in 84. That's one benefit you get from credit cards is a credit card stays open even when it has a zero balance, unless they close it because you didn't use it for a couple years, they might close it on you. But when you get a house payment or a car payment, when you pay it off, that account's closed. Okay? So there is a benefit to having credit cards. I don't recommend that you carry balances on them, but that is one benefit to helping your score 15% by just keeping that card open. Maybe just put it in your dresser drawer, put it in your freezer, whatever. But that's why that you hear don't close your credit cards. Amount of new credit. That's what we kind of talked about, those hard hits. That's going to affect 10% of your score. If you start going out shopping and letting companies pull your credit, that can affect 10% of your score. And then types of credit in use. It likes to see a mix. It doesn't want to see all credit cards, and it doesn't want to see all installment. That one stumped me because I would see people that their scores didn't make sense to me because one example is like high interest rate finance companies. You know, you can go into their office and borrow money, and it's a high interest rate. And people would have those and they would roll them over because those companies want to keep you on the hook. They don't ever want you to pay it off. And so I would see like 10 accounts closed, open, closed, open, closed, open. The credit scoring system is aware of that. It takes that into account. So just something else to think about. Any questions on that? Okay. Again, think, good news, I can turn things around and get things going the right direction, and 35% of my score is going to be based on what I start doing today for the next 2 years. You need a score above 700 to get a preferred interest rate.
Just be false.
Everybody agree? Depends on the lender. Some lenders are, you're approved or you're not. Everybody gets the same score. Some people are, and some lenders will give you a better score if the higher your score is. It just depends.
What about down payment on a vehicle? Like if you're willing to put $10,000 down, does the bank look favorably to that as you're putting your own
Oh,
risk
for
out
sure.
there?
That's skin in the game is the name for that. Yeah, and we get that a lot for businesses. Somebody wants to start a business and they want to borrow $200,000. Okay, how much are you putting into it? Well, I don't want to put anything into it because I don't know if this is going to work. Well, we think the same thing. If you're not willing to put it in, I'm
That's
not
right.
putting money into it. Yeah, but definitely down payment can help your chances if your score is not high. So this is just kind of a summary. Be sure your credit report's accurate, pay your bills on time, keep your balances low. Consider limiting the number of credit cards you use. That's just because it gets complicated. If you've got 10 credit card bills, you could miss one, miss a payment, and there's no need in having that many credit cards. And definitely don't have one that charges you an annual fee. There's too many out there that don't charge those. That's another pet peeve of mine. And Manuel, the last one, avoid companies who can claim they can improve your credit for a fee.
Oh.
Yeah, I just want you to be conscious of that. So here's some questions for you. I guess this one gives you the answer because the PowerPoint isn't queued up, right? But How long does a consumer owe borrowed money? How long do you owe it? Well, you owe it until you pay it, you settle it, or if you filed bankruptcy and it was dismissed. How long can the derogatory info be reported by the credit bureau? Any guesses?
10 years.
7 years and 180 days. I'm not sure what 180 days has to do with it, but 7 years and 180 days. So that's why when you were saying you've been 5 years, it's going to drop off eventually. Not that it's any less not aggravating, because it's definitely aggravating. That's on there. How long can the creditor pursue the consumer in the court system to force payment? Sean?
The statute of limitation question depends on the state.
Yes, I've got a Tennessee and a Virginia. Do you want to guess for Virginia?
Virginia's longer, I know that. I think West Virginia's 10 years.
Mine has the answers.
Oh, it does? Virginia, I had 20. That's what the last information that I had was 20.
I think it's
And Tennessee was 10. But you're right, it depends on the state, how long they can go after you. All right, well, I've said it once, I've said it 100 times tonight. Your credit is a valuable financial asset. Review your report regularly. Same stuff, common sense, pay your bills on time, that kind of stuff. Any questions? Yes.
How does identity theft affect your credit report? Let's say you were a victim of identity theft.
It can be a nightmare to get things fixed on there. If somebody steals your identity, I've heard horror stories of that. I've never personally experienced it, but yeah, it can take a while to get that stuff fixed on your credit
There
report.
was someone in California filed and got a check for income taxes on my dad about 2-3 years ago. How in the world they did it? He went to, see, he waited, he had, was a little late, not putting this 15th April or whatever, but I mean, it was like end of March, 1st April when he went to file his taxes.
And somebody had already filed?
Somebody had already filed his taxes within his name in California and got the refund for it.
That's what my wife did to me.
And he had to
She
go
filed-
in
she
where you talking about
filed-
that freeze thing, he had to go
Put
get
that
all
on
that,
there?
and every time
Oh
he
my
tries
gosh.
to get credit for anything, he's gotta go through all this, they gotta call him back, and he's
Yeah.
gotta,
It's horrible.
It's a mess.
You just, and even at your best efforts, something can happen like that, so.
If you have, let's say that you have 3 investors, officers, or directors on your company, and of those 3, 2 of them have 700 plus, the other has a 680, 695, and the 685 has a bankruptcy. He's 4 years out from his discharge. How do you look at that?
You mean it was discharged 4 years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
So is it chapter 13, chapter 7 is 10 years, chapter 13 is 7 years, so it's a 10-year,
Was it a 7 or a
it was
13?
a 7.
Okay.
So it's a 10-year, it'll stay on.
It'll
the
stay
credit.
on there, yeah. That score's not super, super low. We would want to dig into it more, like what we did here. You didn't have enough information. Anybody that has 20% or more
Utilization.
ownership in the business is required to sign as a personal guarantor. So is that person going to have 20% ownership or more?
Yes.
Yes. So they would be would need to sign, their credit would be pulled. We're going to look at the whole picture. How much equity is going into it? Is it an existing business? Is it a startup business? If it's an existing business, how strong is the business? What's the financial, what's the cash flow been for the business for the last 3 years? What are they putting into it? How much are they
Of
putting
course,
in?
that's yeah.
All this, it wouldn't be an automatic no, but there would be a lot of questions and information other things that would have to be known to be able to give you an answer. Same as when I had you do this, you didn't have enough information, yeah. But it's not it's not an automatic no. Now, what do I need to do?
I guess we'll turn it over, if there's no other questions, we'll turn it over to the big.
Oh,
One more.
yes.
You ever have any experience or with VA microloans, like SBA or anything like that?
We're an SBA lender,
Okay.
yeah. And we do SBA loans, 7A, we will do 504, which are really handled from a CDC, but we do those, we do USDA guaranteed loans. Yeah, but we work with all those government guarantee, if they're needed. They're not always needed, but. Yeah.
Cindy?
Does anybody need a break in the transition? If you do, feel free to go ahead and use the restroom or anything, but go ahead, yeah.
Oh, I'm scared of numbers, that's why. Anything with numbers, I get headaches.
Yeah,
So I told my wife that we gotta get a service because my credit report's not bad. I mean, my credit's not bad, but it's above 600, above 600. But just numbers in general, I was dyslexic most of my life. So I went to art school and.
see now, I can't draw sick people, but I like numbers. Everybody's different, yeah.
I'm
So I
more of
totally
a-
get it.
So, whenever, I was a drywall contractor in Chicago for years, for 15, 20, almost 20 years. And I hired a bookkeeper.
Yeah,
I would pay her like $500
Smart.
to do my bookkeeping. But she did all my bookkeeping. Whenever she showed me numbers, I was like, you know what?
I don't wanna
I don't
know.
want to know them. I don't
Yeah.
want to look at it. Do I owe anybody money? No, I don't. Okay.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah, I understand. Everybody has their talents and their likes and dislikes. It's just making sure that you, like you did, you got somebody hired that could handle the numbers since that wasn't your specialty, so that was smart.
But, I've passed hard exams with numbers. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I understand. I don't know why it's mine. I'm just one of those weird people. I like numbers. I don't know. Good
I see
question,
you pulling them out of
guys.
the refrigerator back there.
Well, I have to have them frozen.
I'm the same way, I like it like that.
I have another one, do you want it?
No, I'm fine. I like warm water anyways, or room temperature.
Oh, I should have.
Right after her.
Yes.
Oh, are we gonna sit together?
Let's see, wait, I'll take that back. Let me scoot it up. Got me out.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, I just hit play. Okay, thank you.
Does it come out?
Keynote, yeah. Very cool. Okay, I would normally sit, but I've been driving a lot today, so and I'm gonna drive home after this. So I didn't drive from Northern Virginia just now, but I drove last night. I had meetings in Duffield
Yeah.
until 4, and I drove here. So, but after this, I'm gonna drive home. I have a meeting at 9 a.m. for work tomorrow, so I have to be.
Josh, thank you for.
No. That's not to say. No, I'm very happy to be here. I'm honored to be here. Actually, this is for me. First of all, I've never been part of a business challenge. No one ever asked me about managing my business. So I share some of my thoughts based on experiences that I've had. A lot of you have your own businesses and are looking to start new businesses. So I'll just share some lessons I've learned from running my own, a couple of them. So just in terms of my perspective, so my name is Vivek. I live in Arlington. Been doing a lot of work here down in Southwest Virginia. My interests are, in my day job, I work for a biotech company. We are about $8 billion. We are based in Boston. Within this large corporation, I manage 2 businesses. So I have that's to say that the experience I bring is managing people, right? So I've managed about 25 people in the last 10 years and different personalities. I actually have one person today for the first time in my career, that told my manager that meeting with me makes him want to vomit.
Oh my gosh.
I kid you not, it never happened to me. First time. I don't know how many people I've managed. And I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to meet him next week to find out. But anyway, what I think I'm trying to say is you never know. You manage very different kinds of people in your life. And I think that is a learning experience, right? So people make the company. And that's it. So I need to know where it's, because if he's a remarkable employee, he works really hard, he's great at what he does, but I need to know where I'm going wrong, right, as a manager. I also, I'm here as part of Ascent Virginia. It's a nonprofit, a few of us founded together, and that's the whole idea. I'm here. It's to bridge the gap across the state and try to connect opportunities in different parts of Virginia. Nonprofit management is different because all of us are volunteers. So managing volunteers is a very different experience. And I think that probably the most experience that's most relevant to all of you is an experience of starting and founding biotech companies. So I've done 2 of them. My first one completely and totally failed, but the second one we sold in 2011. And there's a lot I learned from these experiences, from failure, from what happened. And as all of you are doing your own companies, first of all, I admire you for doing it. It takes a lot of courage to start your own company, a lot. And you know that most people would rather stay employed at a job or at a company than start their own. So it's actually very admirable. You're one of few who decides to take that leap to do your own thing. So you should be very proud. And there's nothing I'm going to tell you here where my hope is that I can add some value, but I'd also like this to be a discussion. Now, moving forward, everything that I'm going to say, I'd like this to be a discussion. If there are any questions, say, I need clarity on this, right? So the first thing is the idea and its value. And I was listening to a lot of what you talked about, and you have your idea, right? It's something you are passionate about. You want to create. The question is, what value do you put on it, and what value do other people put on it, right? And there has to be, in my view, a kind of a balance of the two. Why? Because let's say, Manuel, let's just talk about, you talked about the taco. It's a great, you have a band, you have a story about why you want to do it, right? But when you go in front of someone who's going to give you money, they need to see that you value it. They need to see how important that thing is to you, right? So that value is a value that you perceive. That's the value that they perceive. So it's an important part of it. The second thing is the team, the people. Are you going to start your company alone on your own? You can print T-shirts in a cart. As you grow, will you hire more people? Will you, right? Right? Exactly. And I think that's important. Or some businesses you run on your own, right? So it all depends on the team that you build. What kind of people matter? And then the execution of it. I think the execution is really important. I was struck by the fact that all 3 of you said something very interesting to me. You wanted to do a cart instead of a truck or a store. Why? Is that more operational? And we'll talk about this as we go along, right? You are well positioned being in the mall. People want to come paint their pottery, right? You have a market. You're at the law school. You want to start a cafe across. So the execution starts with not just an idea, but what's your market? How do you demand it? So we'll talk a little bit about that. So the first thing, of course, is market research, right? So all of you are starting a business because you see a market need for it. You are at a law school. Law school, a lot of work, a lot of hours. I gotta eat, have coffee. You see a market for it. I haven't had a good taco in a long time, and so you
Just had some
clearly
today.
see. There you go. So when you start your business, I will come and have your taco, right? So you see a need for it. You talked a little bit about T-shirts, right? So branding is everything. So you are an on-demand T-shirt printing company, right? You go. So there's clearly opportunities to what your demand is, and you start your business to address a demand. If there's no demand, you're not going to succeed because you have to grow. I don't think anyone starts a company because, I think some of it is passion, right? You do it because you want to do something, you want to create something, but I don't think anyone starts a company to say, I'm just going to create it. There's no demand for it, but I just want to start it because I feel I need to, right? No one does that. You do it because you want to fulfill a need or a demand. The planning obviously is obvious. One of the reasons we are here is business planning, right? You want to learn about credit. You want to learn about, have you written a business plan? So how many of you have written a business plan for your companies?
I've written one before.
Yeah, okay, so you've had that experience. You have written too.
Yeah, I
So
got one.
okay, so business planning it's probably I literally disliked it right from the beginning. It's a lot of effort, right? To create a business plan, what do I include in it? But it is important, not just for other people, but for yourself. Because it allows you to think through what are the things you need to, what should I worry about? What about the finances? It asks you to really push yourself to think about things that you normally wouldn't think about, right? So let's say you have a business that is not just, for example, a cart, right? So as you write through a business plan, you think, it's actually a great idea because a cart has a smaller footprint, right? You don't have to invest a lot in infrastructure, but as you grow, how much money would you need if I ask you and I want to give you money, I say I'm going to put down $5,000 for you to run your cart to grow your business. But I, as an investor, want to see if you have a plan for growth, right? Are you going to go from a cart to a truck to a store? So a business plan will list that. This is my vision. This is what I want to do in year 1, 3, and 5. So a business plan is a valuable. That planning is foundational. You also want to do something called barrier to entry. I don't know if that applies here as much. For a biotech company, for us it mattered a lot. The second company we started, there was no intellectual property. It was a set of expertise that we were offering. So within 5 years, as we grew in this, anybody else could have just taken our idea and started a company, right? Barrier to entry means how much barrier is there for you to enter the market. And why this matters is, for example, is let's say you make the best taco in the world, right? And you got a truck right there. What does it prevent somebody to park another truck across the street, eat your taco and say, I really like this, I'm going to recreate this. And they're putting it at a price that's half what you're offering, right? The barrier to entry is not a lot. But if there's a secret recipe, like, I don't know what's in a McDonald's burger, or I don't know what's in Coca-Cola, right? That is a barrier to entry because there is no other company in the world that can start a Coca-Cola, like a company, and actually recreate what Coca-Cola does, right? So the barrier to entry is important in terms of competition. Intellectual property, right? And I don't think in this case, in your scenarios, it doesn't matter. But in our case, a biotech company, intellectual property is everything, right? Companies can start or fail based on intellectual property or patents. That's what this means. As a lawyer, you appreciate that, right? To protect your patent. And then fundraising, how do you raise money? So just out of curiosity, I'm not familiar with the business challenge that you do here. Are all of you funded, or are you looking for money? Or how does it work?
It's a competition, and they do all 6 classes. They pitch their business idea, they
Right.
receive a grade, and then they submit a business plan, and
Perfect.
they're graded by another set of judges, and
Great.
all that's tallied up. to see
Great.
Who gets first, second, third.
Perfect. Okay, so you're in the challenge place. Good, because money is the foundation of these businesses. Now, finding a team. So, as I said, identifying the right people is critical because you can have a lot of failure or success with the people we have. What we've learned, at least, or I learned from all of my things, is you could have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't have the right team, it doesn't matter, right? It's also the same with whatever ideas you have here. If you have a coffee shop or a cafe, who's the person that greets people when they come in, right? It's all of these. When you're doing pottery, do you have the right expertise for the someone comes in, right? So who markets the product, who works at the store, all this stuff, the right people matter, and people can make or break a company, right? So I would say that this is, in my view, at least the single biggest attribute. And people who put money in your company will look at the people that are part of your company. This is going to be very important as you build things. Nurturing relationships, I talked about that a little bit with this person who wants to throw up when they have dinner with me. But, I've done my best to support them. I don't know where they're coming from, right? But I'm going to find out next week when I go see them. And I remember there was an interesting experience many years ago talking about motivating and management. My management style is I'm a very hands-off manager. I don't micromanage at all. And I'm going to talk about these two. So what happened was I work for the large company that I've gone from a small startup to a mid-size to a large company. And this large company I work for called Perkin-Elmer bought the company of about 100 people that we had. Now, interestingly, Perkin-Elmer, the company I work for, bought 2 companies in 2012, 2 competing companies, right? So when they brought us together, they said, hello, here are 2 companies, so 3 of you belong to our competing company, and 3 of us belong to this company, right? And they said, Vivek, you're going to manage these 2 companies, and you're going to merge these 2 groups of people. People who competed for a decade against each other in every market, right? And so literally, the first thing I did was I locked that door and I said, we have an hour and a half. You just say whatever you have to say about each other, about the technology, just let it all out. And they did. They sat there and they said, this is not a very nice product. Whatever. I'm being recorded, so I'm not using the language. But the point is, there was a lot that was thrown out there, right? I think it was great because it was therapeutic, and it created the foundation where people could just be open and honest. And anyways, it started. We merged, and we've now gone from 30% to 75% market share, right? But I think what I'm saying is motivating people is important, but also your management style. And when I say management style, there's not just managing your employees, managing up. Now, you guys are the bosses of your own company, so there's no question of managing up, but you are going to manage your investors. You have to manage your board. You have to manage who gives you money. You have to manage your customers, right? So it's managing not just your employees, but who you interact with. And I will just, this last person, I will say that when you, businesses, and this is why I admire all of you, because businesses bring out the best and worst in people. This is tried and true. People that I considered friends, friendships ended when you do startups. Just because they have 1% of the company and not 2%. For that 1%, they will fight you. And yeah, I had somebody who ended a friendship with me, right? So when you start your business, and if you do it with a friend or family, just be aware that business and friendships are separate things, right? Also, the relationships you have with your employees. Look, I like to be friends with everyone, but my boss always tells me, you're too friendly. There is a line that you have to draw. So I think being cognizant of that is very, very important, right? So people, I spend a lot of time on people because people make or break a business. I wanted to talk a little bit about operations. I don't think you have to worry about board relationships here, but I would say relationships with your investors who are investing in you. So if VCC is an investor in this, your primary point of contact may be Sandy or someone. So how do you manage that relationship? Do you check in regularly, accountability and things like that? Management, we all know the worker management relationship. I just came from Komatsu, right? Great to see how the teams kind of all interact. But I think, as I said earlier, trying to keep that relationship of, you know, what I'm going to say to this guy next Friday when I see him. I've been thinking about it a lot because I have never had someone feel that way about me in my life. Forget my worker, but not even a friend, right? To dislike me so much. So I'm going to say to him, look, you may not like me, right? You may not, all I want you, I am your manager. We're not friends. You do your job, I do mine, respect, right? So I think it's really important how you interact with your employees. So that's why I said management is important and how you interact matters. The other thing I wanted to talk about is in an operational, when you do operations, you have to think about what's involved in operating a company. You already probably know this. You said you did serve safe, right? Which is the requirement for food delivery. So I don't know if you've done the course too, David. Okay, but it's going to be required. That's required by the state. Is certified when you're serving food in a cafe. You're going to need to take all this course. Yeah, the certificate. Yeah.
I'm also a proctor.
Okay.
I passed the proctor exam.
Perfect. So that is an important. If you are doing food delivery, you have to go through some of these regulations. So OSHA, safety, food safety, and so on. So regulations are important. And I mean, an employee handbook. You know, I stayed at an Airbnb at Kingsport, and she had a handbook at the Airbnb, a smaller handbook, do's and don'ts, right? Something as simple as that. But when I came in, I looked at it and she said, take the sheets off the bed and put it in my laundry basket, right? Not every host wants that. It's interesting. Some people like to reuse them. I'm just kidding. Don't like to reuse the bed. No. But some people do it themselves. They don't want you to have to go through the work of taking the sheets or whatever, right? But everybody has an employee handbook is the foundation of your business. It tells employees how they need to interact. When a guest comes in, always have a smile. You don't have to put that in your handbook, but there are certain things like if there is like rules around how the business should operate, right? So that's important to have. So an employee handbook is important. These are more operational things, just to remember. Now, this is, again, we talked about credit, right? Financials are everything, right? If you cannot manage your money for the business, it's a done deal. And so I think one thing that people do when they start companies is they'll rely on part-time accounting. So if you got a certain amount of money, you're not gonna go ahead and say, I'm gonna hire an accountant and I'm gonna hire a HR person who manages employees. You are going to contract that out. So you say once a year, I've got a tax accountant, I'm gonna give them my financials, I'll keep a tabulate it all, and then they will take care of it, right? So you contract it out. So the accounting and the financial piece, in my view, is critical. So when you get your pool of money, your first pool of money, and you have a business plan, even just building a relationship with an accountant to go through your finances. So if you're like you said, you have a t-shirt printing business, you have created a financial model for how that is. What equipment do I need? Is it a trailer versus a store? How many t-shirts can I print? What should I charge? You've done the whole modeling. But building a relationship with an accountant, I'm curious, do you have an accountant yet? You do.
I do, well, I just got a lady up here that takes
Perfect.
my taxes.
Perfect, right? So
Keep up with monthly stuff myself.
perfect, yeah. So I think just seeing what works for you is obviously important from an accounting perspective. What kind of business are you? Are you an LLC or are you a corporate? All of those matter because your tax impact happens there. Tax considerations are critical. I have so far never gotten a call from the IRS, but I've had people who've gone through that, and it's not an easy situation. So these are kind of important. And so financial management is critical to your success, right? Being lean is vital. If you can do it, like you said, I do my monthly finances on my own. So that's a real good separation of where you say, I know what I can do, and when I can't do that, I actually source it out. I always use this analogy. I actually have a degree, so you saw I have my PhD is actually in chemical engineering, right? I spent 80% of my work on plumbing. It's glorified plumbing, right? Reactors and pipes. But I literally cannot fix a plumbing in my house. Nothing. I can never do it. I try to do it, things break, right? I literally had a case where I tightened the bolt on my toilet seat and I caused a crack and I had to replace the entire toilet because of this thing, right? So I know what I can do. I can't do that. And it cost me what? $500. I could have just hired a plumber and they could have done it for whatever, $70, right? So it's also knowing what you can and cannot do. If you are doing pottery, for example, let's say, I love the idea, but I actually love your name. I love the name of your pottery. Yeah, I really love it. It's fired up. It's great, right? Now, maybe at some level, I actually like yours too. Serendipity, very nice.
That's what it is. That's what it was. So I'm thinking about keeping it.
Oh yeah, it's a nice name.
Around.
Yeah, I like that. So, but for example, branding is important, right? So being able to brand your product, and you may not know how to. You could say I could do social media. I could put something up on Facebook, show my brand. But if you can get the right kind of branding person, they could grow your business leaps and bounds, right? Because the right kind of person who you contract out and say, look, I want you to take care of my branding. Pay them whatever, $50 or $100 a month a student who's more tech savvy, can be on social media, put it out, can have greater value, and your business gets advertised, you know? So just finding that skill set is important. I think I just have a couple more slides, and then I'd like to have just have a Q&A if you guys have. Human resources, again, a lot of the same things, managing people. So one thing that people, the two things on this slide that I think are the most important, that in my view, one is metrics. My boss is a metrics guy, right? So he's like, I want to know where my employees are and what they're doing, how they're distributing their time, like a credit score, right? You have a pie chart. He wants to see a pie chart at the end of the year. I don't like that style. I think it's micromanaging, and I don't think it's nice, right? Because I trust my employees to be really high performers. They do great. And as long as, like, if things fall through the roof, yes. But his argument for metrics is, look, if you've got 5 employees and you need a 6th, and you have to make a case to management about metrics, you need that. So the reason I talk about metrics is, for all of you, you don't need metrics, but you need performance evaluation. Meet your employees once a month as you build your business, right? A couple of times a month. Figure out how their work is going. Are they happy? Are you happy? So just that metric and performance evaluation becomes important, and then doing a performance evaluation at the end of the year. And compensation is another one, right? If you paying people for their work and their worth is very, very important, right? And I think this is, if you ask people, actually, interestingly, what is the single most thing that motivates them? It's not compensation. It's actually how they're valued in the company and how they're treated, right? So while compensation is important, you don't want to pay someone, like just take advantage, but pay them well and treat them well and value them. And that's why I said motivation and collaboration is probably far more important sometimes than even compensation. And then just, I think sales and business development is important. Knowing your customers and markets is critical. I don't think I need to tell you this. You all are starting with an idea. You know your market already, right? I'm curious, Dave, why are you doing a cart and not a truck? I'm just curious.
It's a little more mobile. I would like to do, for instance, like go to the courthouse, set up there, a couple hours, and go somewhere else, a couple hours, good to go.
Okay.
I feel right now for the startup, that's a little more financially stable
Got it.
and well financially doable for
Got it.
myself.
Got it. Okay. So you've thought through your market. So a mobile cart, you can go park at the courthouse, right? You can, if there's a game, a baseball game somewhere, you'll go over and take it there, right? So it's mobile. You know your market. You know who wants your product, and you are positioning your business to tailor to that product. Like I said earlier in the beginning with your cafe. I always say hire the best and pay them. This goes for sales. Sales, I think, I know that these may not entirely be relevant right now, but as budding entrepreneurs, I don't think this is going to be your first gig, right? You're going to grow your business. One day, maybe second other companies, right, that you start. To me, the hire the best matters because in my company, for example, they're penalizing the sales team, right? So the sales team sells our products. I would like my sales team to make more money than anyone else in the company. If they sell, they should be rewarded for it. But management doesn't want to pay them. So what are you taking away from the sales? What is a salesperson motivated by? Compensation. They want to sell because they want to make money. The moment you take that motivation away, they're like, if I'm going to make 85% of my salary by selling whatever, why should I care, right? So to me, this is very, very important, is how you compensate people tells a lot about not only you're putting a value to them and how well they do. And then, of course, in your case, I don't know if you're going to be using sales tools or product management, but I don't think that applies here. But in any case, just to say that there's a lot of technology and tools available. I put some of them here. In your case, these are all probably for more technology or larger kind of businesses, but you are going to use, for example, financial systems in your stores. What do you use for t-shirt? Do you use Square?
No, it's Shopkeep.
Okay, so it's like a balance.
It's got the credit card reader and all
Okay,
linked into
perfect.
it, and it's like it'll keep inventory.
Perfect.
All in one.
Perfect. So you use different kinds of software. What do you use in your store?
I have a POS, I use Intuit.
Okay. Yep. So it all just depends on what you use, but technology is becoming integrated into the way we do business, right? Cheaper, faster, accessible. So that's really kind of important. How many of you have websites for your stores? Do all of you do?
I have a website that's being built right now.
Okay. So it's actually funny though that I know that Facebook is pretty, people use Facebook as a way to advertise a business, but I think a web presence is very vital, as you all know that. If I'm coming as an like if I'm visiting here and I do also just something as simple as having your thing on Google Maps, right? Like if I come here and I want to go take a gift. So this is actually great. Now I know all of your businesses. So if I come here in the future and I want to have a taco or a hot dog or have a cup of coffee, I know who to go to, right? I love this region and I want to take parts of, so what I try to do is buy gifts for holidays that are representative of my travels, right? I don't want to buy them a t-shirt. I would rather have a t-shirt that you've made, right? Because it's local, it's built here. I'd rather take them a gift from your pottery place, right? So I think, but for me to find you, I want to have an opportunity for you to have a presence. So I would say web presence is important. Even a simple website. You can actually build your own website for next to nothing. There's a website called Wix, W-I-X. You can do it for cheap. Whatever you use.
We've tried, well, actually, we've sold some things on the site that we had built.
Yeah.
But it's kind of got into the problem where inventory, because it sells in the store, it doesn't come off the website. I'm trying trying to get that
Yeah, sort of.
straightened out,
Yeah.
sorted out right
Yeah.
now. Because, but until I get that,
Correct.
you sell something,
Yeah,
if you sell something out of the store, you can't run to the computer and then try to get on there and take it off of your website.
Correct.
And, it's
Yeah.
just,
so you're working through that process.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're trying to get that
Yeah.
lined out to where when it sells at the store, it's took off the
correct,
internet,
correct.
And then if it's sold, on the internet, get an alert to go pull it off the shelf at the store,
Yeah.
to get that lined out
Yeah.
right now. But because I have run in, especially like around Christmas, we'd had something sell on the internet and I'd already sold it at the store, and I just can't.
Yeah.
As soon as you
Yeah.
reach somebody their change bag,
Exactly.
run to the computer and take it
Yeah,
off. You
and
just
someone else
can't-
orders it, and then you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
So
sorry, I don't have
trying
it.
to
It's
get that worked out
Okay.
right now.
And in addition to websites, small little things, right? Friends of Southwest Virginia, which is a group here, I went to Abingdon, and they have a really nice hat, right, that talks about the Southwest Virginia. And I wear that hat when I go walk around in Arlington, right? I want them to see that there's these beautiful parts of the state. So branding is important. It's a small little, like you have a T-shirt. This is great. You're ahead of the game where you've got a brand and people can see it, right? So I think these are the kind of things that kind of make a difference, because the more awareness you create about your business matters.
Chrissy's sporting it.
I-
Are you sporting yours?
Yes, she is too.
And so
All of
Jody.
Yeah, a lot of you are. Yeah, I see yours too. Yeah.
Which I kind of miss. We started out of the house.
Okay.
I was a coal miner, got laid off 3 times, and the third time was, just
Yeah.
tired of it.
Yeah.
We started making shirts out of the house to make up for going from 60 hours a week to 40 hours a week. You see the end is near, just
Yeah.
not got laid off yet.
Yeah.
That's how we got started. But
Great.
where we live is up on top of a mountain, and
Yeah.
we were just trying to figure out what we're going to call our little T-shirt business that's making up for lost hours at work.
Yeah.
It's a real job.
Yeah.
So that's how we came up with their name. But then, and actually, those are a picture of some elk
Oh yeah, I see
that my
that.
wife took.
Yeah.
As
Oh
a
really?
silhouette. Yeah,
Wow.
she took the picture, and that's what we used on our little sign that we made.
Yeah.
And but now that when I decided to open the store, have the storefront, I had a few people think we were a sporting goods store because they saw the elk and
Oh, I know what
ran
you
into
mean.
that. And then
Yeah.
now I'm not on top of the mountain. I'm in a store and I'm on mountaintop anymore. So
Yeah.
it kind of backfired a little bit as what from what we named, but it's kind of where we came from.
But here's a couple of examples of, you told a really great, so I view it in many different ways. So one is adaptability of the brand, right, matters, to your point, right? So when you start a company, I know where it came from, and that's great. But does the brand translate, right? Like if I change, I go from a mountaintop down to Florida, does it matter? Well, people may be like, I don't get it, right? Where's the mountain here, right? So adaptability matters, but your brand is also your story. Just like you told me your story, to me that is very powerful. And so when you have a website, you say the reason we're mountaintop is because this is where we started, right? The reason I have the elk is because this shows you what we can do with a picture that my wife took of elk in our home, right? So telling the story and providing context makes your brand who you are, right? So if you, like you said this to me, I appreciate the T-shirt even more now. I appreciate your brand even more, right? Because it started here. So I think adaptability is good, but a story is also important. Yeah.
I like how you began your speech, how you began it, that hire somebody as excited as you are about
Yeah.
the company.
Yeah.
And that hit me really good because to me, a company is the people that work there.
Exactly.
It's like you're not going to have a hive without bees.
Exactly.
And you want you want the best honey, and you want the bees. But if you have bees that don't even want to make honey and
Yeah.
don't even want to be there, you're not going to have a hive.
No.
You're going to have, so I like that. Plus, everybody, I think I speak for everybody here, that everybody here sees a need, they want to fill that need.
Yeah.
Just like you said in the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
It's and I'm rooting for everybody. Like, I want to go to her. I think I sent my wife to her store because that one day I was busy. I was
Yeah.
designing some stuff.
Yeah.
And I sent her there. I said, "Oh, we're gonna have to get the kids face painting, and I was interested in some CBD oils. Save one for me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I'm rooting for everybody. I'm like,
Yes.
I want the best for him. I want the best for Sean, the best for David, and the best for Chrissy.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the big picture. I'm not looking at me.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this town.
Yes.
So without the
exactly.
bees in this town,
You won't.
you're not gonna have a town.
Absolutely. This is, for me, very, it's remarkable, right? Because you are the community and you're the business community. And as future companies, you're going to interact and collaborate with each other. One day you'll be mentors to other businesses, right? So I'm looking to start my own company next year. And there's a lot of mistakes I made with my first two. My first one bombed so badly that it was embarrassing, right? But I learned from it, and I would just, sort of my parting note to you is three things. I know that Sandy always hears me talk about three things. I'm half Catholic, so I should only talk 1.5, but anyways, I do three. But my three parting points to all of you are, one, you should be very, very proud of yourselves. It takes a lot of courage to start your own company. And I cannot reiterate that enough. So the very fact that you want to do your own thing, don't give up just because, it may be tough or it's tough. You should know that. So the fact that you do that, it's not easy. So that's one, right? Secondly is people make it, right? And I think you get it. Not just people who you employ, but each other, your community, right? Your partners, your friends. They make, they're in it with you together every day, right? And I think probably for me, the most important mantra is the second company we started, the investor gave us, this is just different scale, but we raised $5 million in 2009, the year after the financial crisis. And she says, Vivek, the image I have of you is, that those dogs that latch onto your leg and don't let go, like those little ones, and they just stay there and you just can't shake them off. That is the tenacity that you need to have when you do your own business. You just have to know. I'm not saying do that to people. I'm just saying it's an image, but it's, you know what I mean? Like you just gotta take your business and you gotta go after it, and you just gotta be tenacious. There's gonna be a lot thrown at you. So I want it to be, I think it's 34 minutes, so I was given 30 minutes, so I apologize for a few minutes, but I want to keep, I just want to say thank you, and I'm here for as long as you need me. If you have any questions, we can have a few minutes to have a discussion. If you have any observations, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So,
Are you open to, you left your contact information, are you open for them contacting you?
absolutely, anytime. You can call me or contact me anytime. If you want to talk about things, I'm here. Like I said, the business model is different for me a little bit, but I was married to someone who was a chef, so I am very familiar with the food. That's why I know Serve Safe and the certification. And so I'm happy to be here.
I worked in a restaurant when I was in my 20s. When I was going to art school, I worked in a restaurant. It's pretty famous in Chicago. It's called Leona's. I worked in Leona's. I worked in the kitchen. I worked as a waiter.
Yeah.
I even did the bar on the weekends. Basically, I covered all spots.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to be really clean.
Yeah.
And you got to present the food like you're the owner.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you're the owner. Oh, we're going to have this today. We're not going to go there and say, yeah, our steak's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
You
we
gotta-
got the best steak in
I
the
know.
world. You can't imagine how our steak is.
Exactly. It's a memory. Like food and experiences make, right? I'll be like, man, I went to Grundy and damn, that taco that I had there. Do you know the best taco in Arlington, where I live, is a taco truck that's parked 500 feet from my house in all of Northern Virginia.
Well, I was an advocate in Chicago for food trucks. And,
Yes.
And back in the 90s, I tried to get them. I went to City Hall. I organized groups.
Yeah.
I was a fighter at one time. I was a fighter. Not anymore. I'm old.
Yeah.
I'm 54 years old. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to deal with me.
Yeah, you wanna?
I mellowed out.
Yeah.
But the food truck scene right now in Chicago, it's
It's
tremendous.
grown. Yeah, there's a
It's
lot.
tremendous.
So you can start a nice food. You got two two folks here wanting to
Start
do food
a-
trucks. Yeah.
Revolution here.
There you go.
Me and Dave.
So, but anyways, I'm here for as long as you need me. Happy to talk, and you can always reach out to me anytime. If there's any idea you want to bounce, I'm happy to share our stories. And I've made a lot of my mistakes, but I've learned from them, and as you start. So, I'm really excited that all of you are doing this. It's so great to see this. So, when are you starting? So you already have a business because you started, and you do too as well. And the three of you haven't started, right? You were considering it, or have
Yeah,
you?
I'm a licensed contractor in a construction company, did set asides. I'm a service Civil War veteran too, so
Okay.
I participated in
Great, thank
SBA set aside projects. So the building over here, it's right down the road. It needs a little bit of TLC. So this summer, my father's also a licensed contractor, as am I.
Great.
So we're going to come down here and work on it. And
Nice.
we're going to work out a deal where we get free rent from the school for fixing up, giving them equity.
Yes, of course.
So probably get free rent for a couple of years out of
Great.
that. But
And what's your cafe gonna do? Just different kinds of food?
probably a small menu. I think a lot of times businesses try to do too much
Yeah.
and they fail, especially restaurant business. It's probably the hardest, and they have turnover rates so bad. But probably small things, especially supporting local community, other businesses as well. Wintertime, it's a limitation on food trucks. Maybe I can work out a deal with them where I give them a
Yeah.
place where they come in there and cook their food or
Yeah.
something like that and
Yeah.
support. Because that's what this is about to me.
Yeah.
I
it's
grew
your
up in a
food.
smaller town than this,
Yeah.
so
Where did you grow up?
Morgantown, or we're outside Morgantown,
Oh,
West
that's
Virginia.
Yeah.
So there's a place called Pisgah. That's
Oh,
what it's
nice.
called. So just no stoplight. Walmart's 45 minutes. No grocery stores. So
Oh wow.
dirt roads.
Yeah.
But
One thought is, as you start your business, there are two things that I'd like to see more in the region. One is more local food. The other day I was driving and I saw a big sign for Southern Sweets. And I was rushing because I was getting to, this is what happens, and I should give it more time. So in June, I think we're going to come for much longer here. And I wanted to stop because I wanted to go in. I wanted to see what are Southern Sweets, right? Maybe pecan pie. I don't know what it is, but I would like to go. And so I would love for there to be a place that has more local flavors.
so it's part of the plan
That would be
is to
great.
support all local businesses. Of course, the proximity. 50 miles if you could do it, or 100 miles at the most. There's a greenhouse down the road that
Oh, wow.
So any fresh food that we
Yeah.
have, get from them. Any
Great.
butcher, any type of meat that we use, we're trying to use local because that's important.
Yeah. That's
You
your
know.
community. But I think I was also saying local flavor, right? Like,
Mm.
what is the food of Appalachia, right? What is that? What is that flavor? What kind of food? There is something I cannot remember that Frank Kilgore told me that's very typical from here, and I cannot remember, but it'll come to me. But anyway, I think just capturing the heart of, the food here is, I would love.
Chocolate gravy?
I cook a bean biscuits and gravy.
See, there you go. That is right. So people come. I'll be like, I want to
My
go
wife
to
got me hooked on
serendipity,
that. My wife got
right?
me hooked on
Yeah.
this.
I think it just creates a story that I think. So I would love to
Are you
see
talking
that.
about Scrapple?
No.
It's got everything but the squeal.
No. I don't think that.
Was it chicken and dumplings or?
That's a good one. Sticks to the guts.
Sticks.
I have a
See?
Jewish friend. I have a Jewish friend in Chicago, and he used to take me to all these like Jewish restaurants, delis. And I said, man, we're gonna go one day. I'm gonna take you to one of mine. So I took him one place where it's not but Southern food in Chicago, and it's
Yeah.
Scrapple and all that stuff. He goes, man, well, thank you for taking me here. Thank you for buying stuff, but I don't eat pig. I don't know if you knew that. I'm Jewish.
You're like, there's no pig in here. Just
And he
nothing
actually-
with the squeal.
He actually took a bite.
Oh,
He
actually, it is,
He
yeah.
actually took a little piece.
Yeah,
He said,
yeah.
hey, it tastes pretty good. Yeah.
No, I know it's so. Well, I'm very excited to meet you. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you so
and
much for your
inviting.
commitment to
Absolutely.
Buchanan County and
Of
sharing
course.
your history. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
How far a drive you got?
6.5 hours.
I was in Charlottesville this weekend, so we had a big.
Oh, did you go to Tom Tom? No.
We went to we had a law school invitational softball tournament. So
Yeah.
all the law schools are like
Yeah,
90
yeah,
teams, so we
yeah.
went down there. We got fifth out
Yeah.
86, 90 teams. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was fun. Alabama was down there, and of course UVA was in the national championship. So
Yes.
that town was nuts.
Oh yeah, they were going crazy.
It was-
yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah, it
was-
was such a great story too. That I know it's a bit of a hike, but I've got work to do, so I'll try to do that. Make some calls on my way, but I really, I told Sandy this. I feel like I'm home when I'm here. Like my heart. If you've ever come to Northern Virginia or like many urban cities, people have forgotten, except for maybe Chicago. Generally, people don't say hi to each other. I spent a big formative part of my life in Indiana, and I miss that kind of when I came here once with my dog and she was really sick, I literally had 4 cars that stopped to make sure, do you need paper? Do you need napkins? Is she okay? I'm like, and I had a story where I went to a restaurant in Abington and we walk in and there's like 6 people and they're so nice. And I didn't know what to do with it. So we go and we sit at the table and I tell Jan, who's my mentor, and I was like, Jan, I think we were rude to these people because we didn't acknowledge their... And so I went back and I said, I'm so sorry because we thought maybe we knew you and we didn't, and I appreciate your generosity. They were very kind. Before we leave, they had sent over dessert to us and left. Like, so there's this kindness.
First time I went to New York City is probably 2009. I flew up there with a friend. We went to watch St. John's WBA play.
Yeah.
But first time I was in New York City, I'm outside. I'm like, good morning, good morning, good morning. And people's like running away from me.
Yeah, I know.
They're like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, hey man, how are you? And just
It's great. This is great that you guys have that.
Thank
You done?
you.
Thank you.
Have a safe
Yeah.
trip. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys have to.
Folks,
Thank you
I'll
very
see
much,
you next
brother.
week.
Thank you.
Thank
Couple
you.
questions.